told me, they came in, brought me in, they said, we're no longer going to do baseball. And we're cutting the program out. I said, well, we've been spending these 5 years building this program up. We're up to like 20 teams at the time was baseball. And I know that seems like a lot, but from 36 to within a short year to be at 20, it was incredible what we're doing. And so they said, the gentleman from the rec center said, well, we can't do youth sports anymore, but you can.
Welcome to the Hidden City Podcast. I'm Grant.
And I'm Doug, and we're here to share some of the incredible stories and people from Oak Cliff that you might not know.
We're going to sit down with some of the visionaries, craftsmen, and business owners who have shaped Oak Cliff into what it is today.
Oak Cliff is on the south bank of the Trinity River, a few miles south of downtown Dallas. While technically it was part of Dallas, it was its own city for a long time, and it still has that independent spirit.
We'll dive into the history and the spirit of this place, exploring the different challenges and successes that defined it.
This is The Hidden City, a podcast about the people and the stories that make Oak Cliff extraordinary.
All right, well, welcome back to another episode of the Hidden City Podcast. We're super excited to have JR Huerta with us today. He is the founder of Dallas Youth Sports. He's the representative for District 1 on the Dallas Parks and Rec Board. He helps run Go Oak Cliff's Mardi Gras parade over down Davis Street, and he's just a force for good in the neighborhood. So we're excited to have you here.
Thank you for having me, both of you guys.
Yeah,
the twins.
The twins. Oh,
No. That's far better of a compliment to me than to Grant.
Oh, come on, Doug. So JR, how long you been in Oak Cliff for?
I think I moved here in 93, 94. Not quite sure, but I think it was 93, 94. Right before my first daughter was born in 95. So I definitely bought my house over at Keyswood area by Keys Park.
Nice.
My first home in Oak Cliff. And moved there, single guy, got married, brought her home, and she was from Oak Cliff. She moved.
Okay.
Yeah, so,
Nice.
then
So
started having kids.
She grew up here in Oak Cliff, you said?
Yep.
Nice.
She came
Very
here when
cool.
she was 1 year old. That's a long time ago. I won't say her year, but over at Bishop Arts. And her
Nice.
parents still live at Bishop Arts.
Okay.
And you start
right.
having kids. You're the first person to tell me this. You're like, Doug, my wife and I are on our third kid now. You looked at me straight in the face and you're like, those each cost money.
They
Right?
do cost money, each of
I
them.
know.
You got 18 plus years to take care of your kids.
Yeah.
Especially if you want a college degree for them.
I know,
So there you
I
go.
know.
About 22 years each.
Yeah.
It's no small thing.
No.
I got to catch up to you guys, but JR, you started Dallas Youth Sports. Can you tell us about that? How did you start it?
Absolutely. Well, it's been, matter of fact, we're celebrating our 20 year.
Yes.
In 2004, over at Kids Springs Park, we had a meeting inside the cafeteria and inside the rec center, if you've ever been there. And just kind of started talking about putting a baseball program here together. I was one of 4 founders. That's what we call ourselves now. Well, I'm the last one left. And we just started talking about putting baseball. I already had been coaching since 90, so it was something that I was doing. I wanted somewhere for my kid to play, my son. And we just sat there and talked it out, hashed it out, and it started as a Dallas Park and Rec program, a volunteer program, in 2004. First year, man, we're excited. Registration starts. 36 kids signed up. That's it.
That's it.
That's it. Not enough for any age group that we could do. So
Not enough for any age group.
So we ended up putting 3 teams together, mesh them up, and we went to go play in West Dallas back then. They had a bigger league they had a big league then over at JC Saragossa.
Okay.
And that's where we started our program, and
Okay.
here we are 20 years later. A little bit bigger than that, but
Yeah.
20 years later.
So Dallas Youth Sports, that is baseball, soccer. Help describe like what the program is to people who might not know what it is.
Yeah, so Dallas Youth Sports now is the name. We started off as Dallas Youth Baseball.
Yep.
I wanted to be called Oak Cliff Baseball, but I was outvoted by the other 4 members, or the 3 members.
Bring it back.
Yeah, and so they said, we're going to do Dallas Youth Baseball. And so I said, okay, fine. But I wanted to be called Oak Cliff, and because I was here. And as we started progressing, in 2009, the city went bankrupt. It's when the real estate fell all the way down to the ground. Tax monies, tax rolls are going to zero. And the city of Dallas, and their brilliance of thinking, how can we cut back? We're going to cut back on libraries. We're going to cut back on youth sports. That was the 2 big cutbacks, plus other things, but that was a big ringing bell for the community. Yeah. And so they told me, they came in, brought me in, they said, we're no longer going to do baseball. and we're cutting the program out. I said, well, we've been spending these 5 years building this program up. We're up to like 20 teams at the time was baseball. And I know that seemed like a lot, but from 36 to within a short year to be at 20, it was incredible what we're doing.
Yeah.
And so they said, the gentleman from the rec center said, well, we can't do youth sports anymore, but you can. So what do you want to do? So, I went back and talked to my wife, and we talked about it for a little bit. I said, well, I'm going to keep running the program. I got the coaches. I know them all. They know me as one of the guys, so we'll just keep running it. So here we are, the spring of 2009. I think it's 2009. My timeline on my website.
Oh, yeah,
It's all right. We won't quote you.
We have our first independent opening day for spring baseball. About 7 days before, I go to the rec center. I said, "Hey, can I get those bases and the mounds and all the equipment we've been using?" They said, "Well, you can't use it." And I was like, "What do you mean I can't use it?" They said, "Well, those are city assets, and only city programs can use them." I said, "But wait, you've been giving them to me as a volunteer for the last few years. Put them back in my truck. I take them out to the park. We put them out. Yeah, but it's no longer a program that you're volunteering for because we don't no longer run that program." So you can imagine, I was pissed. I think I probably had a few choice words at that moment. I'm not real religious, especially at that moment. And I went home and told my wife, and she was upset. And she calls the guy, and she gives him a few choice words. Blah. We've been putting the sweat equity in this.
Yeah.
So we had no choice. We got our credit card out and bought everything that we needed. And we still had our first day. Nobody knew what happened.
Yeah.
And we just started creating the program, basically buying everything that we needed from scratch over. But it ended up going. Pretty good. So in the meantime, we learned that soccer was no longer going to be a program here either because it's youth sports, and the person that was helping soccer didn't have no way to get it going. So I said, well, let's bring all the coaches in. We made contact with all the coaches, and we started a soccer program also. So now we had Dallas Youth Baseball and Dallas Youth Soccer going at the time, and it got really big. It got really big within 3 years. It got really big. We're looking at about 100, 120 teams per season.
Whoa!
So you're organizing all of this.
We were organizing all of
it.
Okay. Out of our house, and I'm trying to also do a job. I'm gonna go work.
I was going to ask if you were also working, full time doing.
Absolutely, I was working for Nabisco at the time, and I would do a little bit of Nabisco work. Nabisco at the time had a work at home program before COVID, right?
Wow.
So this is
revolutionary.
And you would work from your house, and you go to a meeting once a month, but you work straight to the house to the customer.
Get your work done.
Yeah, and it was and I was doing that, and so I got to work half a day on Nabisco and half a day on sports, and kind of get all that organized. Yeah. And we saw it going. So at some point, we're going to bring in we did bring in softball for a few years, and just other programs that we're doing. Yeah. So then I had a board, and we put the board together, and they were all sitting there, and they said, well, we're no longer baseball or soccer. We're softball, and we're basketball, and we're all these other sports. So that's where the Dallas Youth Sports name kind of came in, and kind of we umbrella everything underneath it, and we became a 501c. And, man, we just took off and added different sports. Our facility that we run now, our gym facility. Yeah. We use Keys Park, Adamson High School, Hosey Park, Sunset High School Field, just numerous places that we used.
Created a network.
We did. Yeah. We did. We brought in a bunch of people that knew how to run those individual sports. Our soccer guy was with us for 10 years, recently retired. He retired completely, so now he's also retired from soccer. Yeah. And but he ran it for 10 years, that side. I ran the baseball side. We had another guy that was running the basketball side. Just kind of everybody kind of knew their sport. Yeah. And we just started building the network, and now we got real young people running the program. I'm just now the founder. I still show up day to day, but not really to do much. I'm more of the face of the.
You've built it.
The organization.
You've built it. I mean, so Dallas Youth Sports is going on its 20th year. You've been here since '93. What are some of I don't want to say success stories, but what are some memorable moments that have happened from people going through this, or what comes to mind?
I mean, I think we could talk about some kids that made the USA basketball team, the USA baseball team. Right now we have a young lady that's playing softball for the Mexico national team.
Wow. Oh, cool.
Cool.
And just a lot of kids that
get talent.
That we had talent, and we see a lot of kids that have got college degrees, and we see them graduating.
That's awesome.
But the biggest thing is seeing those same kids graduate college, get married, or maybe not have a child.
Yeah.
And now their sons or daughters are playing our league, and now they're coaching.
It's like the legacy of it.
Correct.
A bit.
And I think that's the biggest thing that we take back, that there's kids coming back. Oh, this is where I played. We have kids. Before my son, I had teams, and those kids are also like, they're 33 years old. Those kids are about 33 years old. And seeing them out there with their kids, and they remember when I coached them, they talk about, oh, this is my coach when I was your age, and all that kind of stuff. It's just a legacy of what we built. And now my son runs the sports department for our organization. So it's like he was the first kid we registered, and now he's running sports for us.
What a story.
Yeah. And he, he's 24 years old. I'm sorry, he's 25 now. He just turned 25 recently. And sometimes he drops the ball. He might fumble every now and then.
Yeah.
But he's also young, and he's
25
he's like
young,
you. He's
man.
like you. He's chasing stuff every day. You know what I'm saying? So, he's just one of those things.
Your son, does he also do the logos and some of the marketing, or was that?
He's doing all the
all of it,
logos,
okay.
all the marketing. He's a graphic. He's not a graphic designer by trade.
Yeah.
He just picked
he's
it up.
He's figuring it out.
He's figuring it out.
I got to meet him when you gave a talk here at Waxbase, and man, your whole family came out. I think that's one of the things. There's probably so many celebrations and wins with this thing, but something you've done and I've admired watching you kind of create this thing is like how much your family is involved.
Yeah.
Like you bring them in and you're like, hey, we're doing this. We're gonna show up and do this together. It's pretty sweet, man.
And I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And that just goes back to my wife again, right? Because my wife was really, if she would have said, no, let's not do it, we can't put it on credit card. If she would not help me keep going, we probably would not have it, because she would stay up with me and figure out, we had, back in the day, we had papers, and every kid signed up a paper, and we separated them by age group, and we put teams together.
She's doing this with you.
Yeah.
It's a ton of work, too.
Tons
I
of
bet.
work.
Yeah.
We only the last 5 years we went paperless. We're 100% paperless. We don't do nothing on paper.
That's nice.
Every now and then we got to bust out old school paper,
Yeah.
but just because maybe the system's not working. But that's very rare and we went totally electronic. That's more my daughter's side that we decided to go electronic. She was just tired of keying in things, and but without her blessing, we would have never had what we have. And just them going out there. My son was 4 years old playing baseball, and we had to wait till the last game. So we were out there all day waiting for the last game. Then we had to pick up. We had to pick up all the equipment, pick up all the trash, and everything that people left behind.
You're running it. Yeah.
So they were helping me pick up trash when they were 6, 7, 8, 9 years old.
They've grown up building this with you.
Correct.
That's probably such a good work ethic lesson for them growing up, to just seeing them, like them watching you lead the thing, and then also being there to like, hey, you got to help me now.
Yeah.
For
You
a little
have to
bit.
help, and that's more of a Chicano or Mexicano thing that we do. That all the family, you're a kid, you got to figure out how to work, how to clean
what's
up.
your role?
Yeah.
What's your role?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. If you're old enough to pick up stuff, you're gonna be picking up stuff.
Yep.
It's just something that my parents did to us, and I'm doing to them, and just make sure that you got to pick up after yourself. There's no if and about it.
Oh yeah,
It's a good value. I
JR
love that
also
value.
was the one that's reminded me. He was like, "Are you stopping at 2 kids? Most white people do." And I was like, "No, I'm on my 3rd." JR,
He got a little Oak Cliff in him.
Yeah,
He got a little
some
Oak
of
Cliff.
that.
Yeah.
Some Oak Cliff.
Man,
that's awesome.
I will remember forever when we played youth sports over in East Dallas. We grew up in East Dallas, so the Dessa Fields, we were playing soccer there every Saturday for
Awesome.
like all of our childhood. And it was like one of my fondest memories. So I imagine there's so many kids that over the years have come back to you and told you thanks, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's just the value of them coming back, man. If it wasn't for this group talking, because we're not, when we started baseball, we were baseball, but we're just not sports. So we get those kids back talking about, man. The only reason I'm in college was because what the things you said to us, or we heard you talk about higher education, because we used to have this big mission plan, and it was like a page, and you would read that we're going to do all these points, and so. As we were building our program, we realized that there's only 5 key things that we really do, and we promote education, leadership, discipline, health, and wellness through sports. It's just simple, right?
Yeah.
Simple 5 things. If we can keep a kid in school and graduate high school and then go to higher education, and it got to be college. Some people are great with their hands.
Yeah.
So why can't you be the plumber or learn that trade or electrician, stuff like that? So we push that forward versus everybody's got to go to 4-year degree and get that degree.
Yeah.
You know, everybody's got to be a doctor. Yeah, we want doctors and lawyers and all that, but some kids are just not meant for it, and it's okay.
It's okay. Not everybody should be a doctor or a lawyer.
Yeah.
We need all sorts of people
Doctors
doing all
can
sorts
be
of
overrated. No, I'm just kidding.
But the value of sports is the underlying theme. It's like
Correct.
being there, learning those life lessons, playing on a team, competing. It's like it's
The
something.
value of sports. This is coming from the guy who played college football.
Well, Division III,
I know,
it was
yeah.
small ball, but
Yeah.
I mean, I love sports, and
Yeah,
you did
yeah.
too growing
Oh,
up.
yeah,
so
yeah.
it's an important thing for kids
100%.
because I don't know, they learn a lot of lessons.
I think it's a great thing to get your kids involved. You know, because everybody talks about you know, what do you get out of sports? Well, you know, one of the biggest factors is females get the biggest advantage out of playing sports, and because all female CEOs in America right now play varsity sports.
Whoa.
And when you think that for a minute, that if they play varsity sports, they're going to be a CEO. That's almost amazing that happened to them.
You can connect
but
that, yeah.
it's something that females get the most out of it. Males, there's so many of us that play sports that it might not translate to be
Right.
a CEO, but the female factor is really big, and that's something that we try to push.
Fascinating.
Yeah, we try to push that. But playing sports, and you know, everybody says, well, you of course you're gonna want everybody to play sports, but I said, but if they're doing piano, they're doing band, or they're doing cheerleading, if they're, you know, whatever it is, as long as they're doing something after school,
It counts, yeah.
it does count because it keeps them active and it keeps your mind stimulated. So they'll want to be. If you have something for them to do, they're gonna want to learn at school because, you know, of course we got the don't pass, don't play rule, right? So you can't even do anything else, you know. So
yeah,
it's just something.
It's motivation there.
It's motivation
Yeah.
always to keep kids involved and keeps parents also involved, because now if a kid's playing sports or they're doing music, parents now go to their shows or their games.
Yep.
And the parents don't lose drift of what the kids are doing every day at school. So it's a full circle on how you're getting kids motivated, especially our immigrant families that, you know, they weren't pushed to do that kind of stuff in their country where they're coming from. So here we are. So
That's cool. Well, so it's an interesting backstory with the city kind of lack of funding. You stepped up with some others and were like, hey, we're just going to make this happen. And it grew into, so you've been involved in the city for a long time. You're also, as we said earlier, the representative for District 1 on the Dallas Parks and Rec Board. How did you come to get into that role, and what does that look like for you?
So, you know, maybe I got lucky because my friend won the city council seat,
Oh,
right?
yes.
You know, he is a friend. Chad's a really good friend of mine, and of course, you guys, you know him too.
Yep.
And just kind of been talking for years. You know, when he came first at Oak Cliff, he'd been doing all kind of stuff for Oak Cliff for a long time. And when he got his city council, about a year later, he had a former board member named Barbara Barbie, which she did a phenomenal job, and she got the Kids Springs Japanese Garden redone,
yes.
and her tenure was done.
Yeah.
He offered it to me, and at first I was a little hesitant, not because I didn't know if I had time. I didn't know, you know, I knew it took time. I was already doing another committee for him, Animal Services, making sure that our animals got, you know, treated well over at Animal Services and stuff like that, and overseeing that. And he asked me, so then I hesitated a little bit, but not long, because I knew I could make a difference. And so when I took it on, I didn't realize all the work that really involves, you know, it's a volunteer position.
Okay.
So it's not, I don't get paid, and you know, most people think you get paid because you're out there, you're every 2 weeks you're in a meeting, and sometimes it can be we start at 8 a.m. Usually wrap up by noon, sometimes 3 o'clock. It just depends on
That's
the
a big
length.
commitment.
It's
Yeah.
a big
It's a
commitment.
full day almost.
But not only do you go to the meeting, they send you your packet a week before, so you either have to study your packet or you're learning it during the meeting. And if you're a good board member, you should definitely study your packet before you get there, because the questions should come before you get there. Versus some people are asking questions that's answered in the packet. It just kind of doesn't look like you're doing your homework.
Yeah.
So we do, and when we talk about packet, we decide things. What's going to happen at the parks across the city, not just District 1, but of course District 1 is my main priority. But just to see what we're trying to grow, what we're trying to be at. And I've been on it now 4 years doing it. And we just recently passed a bond program for parks, the largest in United States history of the bond being passed for parks.
There you go.
$347 million are going to be devoted to parks for the next 5 years. So
That's amazing.
We're going to change, remodel, rebuild, and just do a lot of different things for the parks. And of course, District 1 is getting his fair chunk of it.
That's cool.
We'll be redoing Martin Weiss Rec
I
Center.
heard the Martin Weiss.
He's going to get a rec center. It's not going to get a complete new rec center, but we're going to add additions to it, make it a little bit bigger. The Oak Cliff Skate Park at Westmoreland, Park. It's going to be located at the Westmoreland Park. A bunch of remodels of playgrounds or fix things across our district. But we're actually one of the best districts before this. We have our goal. Our goal is to have everybody can walk to a park within a 10-minute walk, which is about a mile, right?
That's
A
a
little bit
great
less than a
goal.
mile.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's great.
If you think about how long it takes you to walk to the park. And we're number 2 in the city of Dallas. We're 70% of our residents have a 10-minute walk to a park or less.
Really?
Yeah, and there's another district. I forgot. They beat me. I can't even think of who it is. But
Well, I don't think people realize how good the parks are in Oak Cliff, and that's one of the things. I mean, there's work to do, but like there's some pretty good green space, and
There's a
some
lot
places,
of them too.
Yeah.
well,
I mean,
and that goes back to the original park board, which is actually from Oak Cliff. I mean, when you think about the original park board, you go look at them. Kelser was on the theater guy.
Kessler.
Kessler. Martin Weiss came on a couple years later. Keese, Edwin
Yeah.
Keese.
Yeah.
And you look at all them. There were some of the original guys that were on it, and they had a foresight of what they wanted to do in the district. And so all they bought all this land. Martin Weiss bought that piece of land to donate to the city on behalf of his wife.
Wow.
And he wanted that to be a park. Keese gave out all the property that we have now for Keese.
Which is huge.
He donated
Keese is
all that
huge,
property.
yeah.
Hosey, which is a park that's a little bit south from Keese, also they donated that land to be just a soccer complex. Kid Springs, 2/3 of it was donated by a family. Donated their lots, and then we bought several additions to it to make it a little bit as big as it is. But you go through the whole history of how the parks got there. It all started because of Oak Cliff, and you know we're sitting in Dairyland. You know, I don't know if y'all know there was a dairy farm
Big
here.
dairy
Yeah.
farm right
Yeah.
here.
Elmwood
Dairy
was
farm.
a Tennessee dairy farm for a long time. Yeah,
and really this land was going to be donated to parks, but something came of it. But it was just one of those.
probably
that was
Frank
smart.
Jester, the developer. He
Yeah.
probably got it or something.
Yeah,
I don't know.
and so it's for us. We got to hold on to those properties. They have to be maintained as public
Yeah.
parks.
Yeah.
Anything changes on them, then they can take the family.
They
Any lingers that's still left, like a cousin or maybe a third cousin by now, can actually request that land back if we don't keep it as public parks.
So there is like an ongoing nature of kind of protecting the parks that are there and like revitalizing them over time, which you're part of,
Correct.
obviously.
Yeah, correct. So our goal is to keep them going, and we do have some of the most beautiful parks in the whole city of Dallas. People don't think of them as that because they see that they need work. But we have so much usage of our parks.
Yeah.
That we as soon as we fix something, it's like it wears out real fast, and we have to keep it going. So it's just one of those things that, you know, you just got to keep working. It's a maintain, and it's high maintenance, and they're really just keeping the trees, the 100-year oaks that we have on some of these parks.
Yeah.
And a lot of
Pretty
them
special.
fell. The last storm, which I think it was in June or
Okay.
somewhere, a lot of them fell. So, but we're still trying to maintain them and keep them up. So
I think that's awesome. There's one of the oldest trees in Oak Cliff is on our way to school. So my son and I will always look at it. It's a pecan tree by Trinity River over there.
yeah, the West Dallas tree.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely, pecan tree.
Trees. Sorry, you got me on a tangent. Parks. I'm just kind of curious. Is there a favorite park that you have, or one that is maybe a little less known that people should know about?
You know, I mean,
They're all awesome.
yeah, but
We know that.
I'm biased to Kids
Yeah.
Springs. That's because my organization started there, right? So I'm always going to be biased to them. That's one of my favorite parks. But it's also used so much that you can't get in it sometimes. But there's a bunch of parks that are out there that are really nice. But there's at Keys Park on the other side of Keys Boulevard. There's a hidden gem down there. There's a trail back there that just got through being sponsored by WFA is their name
Wow.
on the trail,
Okay.
and they're going to be doing some fixing of it. And they're gonna. It's a nature trail, so there's no human.
Yeah.
It's all built just by walking it and just getting back there a little bit. It's pretty nice just to get back there because once you're in there, you don't feel like you're in the city anymore. So it's just something
It's important. It's so nice to have those, like you said, walking distance to within 10 minutes or something like that. I mean, I think of even the little trail right outside here in Elmwood.
Yeah.
It's a 2-mile loop or something,
Yeah.
and it's great. You can go walk that, feel like you're not in the city for a second, and it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Well, JR, you also are involved in a lot of other things. I know you help run the Mardi Gras parade every year for.
Yeah. JR's out kicking it off, it seems like.
I don't know how you organize that. I guess with your experience at Dallas Youth Sports, you probably can organize pretty well. But like that thing is a mammoth project. How'd you get involved in that, and how do you wrangle that in every year?
So I'm gonna tell you how I got involved, and I got suckered into this, and that's honest
this is
truth.
this is a common theme.
Yeah, Snowman. You know,
Yes.
Snow.
Andrew Snow, he does this. He does this.
So he said, "Hey man, will you help me? I need somebody to kick off and get it
Yeah.
started and all that." And I says, he told me the plan. I said, "Yeah, I got it." So I showed up, and we had. If you don't know anything about Mardi Gras, it starts on Friday was a party,
Right.
and Saturday was a race, and it's continue
Yeah.
socializing. Let's call it socializing.
Yeah, there you go.
And
Socializing.
so on Sunday morning, I had been socializing the whole weekend. I show up, and here's everybody waiting for me to
Kick it off.
Yeah, and here's the plan. And I went by myself. I'm one guy by myself to kick it off. And
needing coffee.
yeah,
You know?
I actually need something a little bit more, just to motivate myself.
Yeah.
And next thing I know, we're kicking it off, and it goes, and I get everybody through the main gate in 55 minutes. How I did it, I don't know.
55 minutes. That's fast.
And I did what I had an hour. The officer said, "You got 1 hour to get everybody through." 55 minutes, it's gone through. He says, "Yeah." I said, "Okay, what are we doing?" He says, "I don't care. We did what we were supposed to. Let's just sit there and watch the back end of it." And we just sat there and and did it. Then Snow asked me what I did. I says, "Not without help." And so the next year, I wrangled up about 20, 25 volunteers and put them all at one corner and figured out a little bit better system. And it still 55 minutes. It didn't get any faster or any slower. It's just what it is.
Yeah.
And just throughout the years, now we set up at Rosemont School.
Right.
Yeah.
'Cause
Yeah.
we're not bothering
That's-
the biggest kickback we were getting was the neighbors. They couldn't get in and out of their houses. They couldn't
Right.
do this or all that. So it was just one of those things that it caused dilemma.
Yeah.
But now it operates on its own, because not only that, again, I brought my family in, and they
Yep.
brought their friends to volunteer, and now my oldest son and my oldest daughter, they run that kickoff part of it.
That's
So
awesome.
I don't stand over there no more.
I see a recurring theme here on
Yeah.
how JR sets up things. Yeah, it's
Yeah, I got to set myself up to win, because if not, we're I always tell everybody, if not, I'm doing all the work.
Yep.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right.
And like today I went to go buy Christmas gifts. We're getting ready for our Christmas event. I went
Yeah.
to go buy. I
Oh,
went to
cool.
Walmart and got a good deal, and I bought a bunch of stuff. Well, that's what I did while they were working. I showed up, downloaded my truck, and I left. So that's why I said, remember I told you it's gonna be down. I was gonna be up north.
Yeah, you said-
that's what I went to go do.
Okay.
nice.
But I always tell everybody, I got 5 kids, man. They can all pick up a box.
That's
so-
it.
Yeah,
All
so
right.
absolutely,
I
it's
love
one of
it.
those things.
JR, you've been, like I said earlier, you've been here since '93, man. How much of this neighborhood's changed? Like, what even is, when people are trying to understand this neighborhood and the politics and the relationships, like, what comes to mind? What comes to mind?
Well, I remember, I'm born and raised in Dallas, but I'm from South Dallas, Fair Park area, right?
Yeah.
And so, and that neighborhood, when I grew up there, that neighborhood was pretty. We were pretty racist there, even though it was Hispanics and blacks. Hispanics lived in certain blocks, blacks lived in another block, and once the M&M transfer came, which is minority to majority school bus
Yep.
transit,
I see.
Dallas was trying to integrate their schools. My mom, of course, wanted us to go to a better school, so she put us on a bus. And I always tell the story about 2 buses showing up to the school to pick us up. One was a brown bus, one was a black bus, and you got on your appropriate bus whenever it got there. And they would take us to school, to Lakewood Elementary in East Dallas, and we'd go there and we'd get off. But as soon as we got off, my friend at school was this gentleman named Bronche Valentine, a black kid that lived 2 blocks from me, but we never socialized out in the neighborhood, but we socialized there. So we would go to school together, and we would be we would protect each other in school. If somebody said something to me, he took up for me, vice versa, because we're in a school. It was 24 kids in there, 1 brown, 1 black, and the rest were all Anglo.
Yeah.
And so we had to, it was
Oh
politics.
man, that's
Yeah.
fascinating.
And that's Dallas.
Yeah.
And I tell that story not because I wanted Dallas was a racist city, and the history shows that it was, but when I met my wife in high school, and who's my wife now, and she told me she lived in Oak Cliff. I said, "Oh, how do you live in Oak Cliff? Because it's a bad place.
Right.
Nobody wanted to come to Oak Cliff. Oak Cliff was infested with gangs and just all kinds of stuff that you could imagine. Bishop Art wasn't what Bishop Art is now." And she says, "What do you mean your neighborhood's bad?" I said, "Well, at least there I know who the bad people are, right? In Oak Cliff, I don't know who the bad people are." So and she said, "Well, I never saw that." And I said, "Well, I can see what's going on. And it was just stories that me and her, we still to this day argue. She said, they were great people to me. And I said, well, these people were great people to me. But we grew up in it, right? So we didn't know
right.
that.
Yeah, it's your
we didn't know
context.
Doug was the bad kid in the neighborhood. You know, whatever it happens to be.
He was. I can verify it.
Yeah. So when I decided to buy a home here, because I was going to marry the girl, right, and I went to Keys because it was a little bit better than maybe North Oak Cliff or Central Oak Cliff, right, and just knowing that, we started figuring it out. Oak Cliff was so different, and when I went to go buy the home that I'm in now, of course my wife was with me at the time because she was kind of choosing where she wanted to be at. We were buying the home, and they had a price tag of $42,000 for it. And of course, it's valued up way more than that.
A little bit more, yeah.
A little bit more than that.
Yeah.
And I offered, the couple was there and that was selling the home, and I offered him $37,000. And the husband didn't speak. He was deaf, so he was sign language. He told the wife, "No, we can't take 37." And she says, "Just sell it to them." And then under her tone, I turned around for a second. I could hear behind me. She says, "I don't want to live with these people." That's exact words that came out of her. I had to grab my wife's hand, not to say nothing. You want the home or not? Just let's get it.
Right.
Let's get them out. We're doing the neighborhood a favor.
Yeah.
So we ended up buying the home from them, and we lived there for about 16 years. But we saw everything changing in front of us. Everybody was coming in. People were moving out. The history of urban cities is white flight, right, into the suburbs, and just seeing everything changing fast. A lot of Latinos moving in.
So you saw that when you were moving in, and this was
Correct.
like early 90s.
Yeah, this is 93, 94.
Okay. And
But it had been going on for a long time. It's just
There's the waves of it.
Yeah, it was
so
waves
like
of it.
this is the 90s were a wave of that. That's
they were catching, which is now the Keys Park, Keyswood area. They were moving there. So we were moving there. I should say, not them.
Yeah.
So got to see that firsthand and feel that, and then just as Oak Cliff changed, started changing slowly. It became predominantly Hispanic, and we're Hispanic for a long time, and then slowly we start seeing the change over. Now, we call it gentrification, but it's just people. Dallas has changed so much. Downtown Dallas has changed so much. It's making Oak Cliff change just as fast as it is.
Yeah.
So now people want to move closer because they don't want to do the commute. 1 hour commute to go. 6:35. 45 minutes to an hour to get to Plano or whatever.
Yeah.
Frisco's an hour and 30 minutes on a week morning, a week evening. So people don't want to do that travel anymore. So now we're seeing the young kids, the grandkids of the families that were here that moved out are not coming back in and paying crazy money for these houses. This is where my great grandpa grew up in.
Yeah.
And
wow.
You hear those kind of stories from all over the people, and which is amazing to me.
Yeah.
The scope has changed so much.
Yeah.
And but it's now 30 years.
Yeah, 30 years.
Yeah.
It's not a super long amount of time, but 30 years, that's a big transformation over 30 years. I'm sure you've seen so much in that period of time, and I'm sure, like you were saying earlier with the politics, I'm sure that has been, a roller coaster here for 30 years too.
Yeah, I've seen, we as a people, as a Chicano people, because I'm we're Mexican blood in us, but I was raised as a Chicano, which means I'm an American first versus a Mexican. My first language was English at home, and so English was my predominant language, and then I learned Spanish as I got older. And there's a lot of us like that because it was what it were. We kind of assimilated to what the person wanted us to do, right? We we fell in line for a long time, and now that we're expanding our wings, we talk more about it. And Oak Cliff, people always talk about how many apartments are going up in Oak Cliff, and I always tell you about it. Apartments have always been here, just not as big as they are now, right? And people say we need affordable housing, and I tell everybody it's not through apartments. We can't make affordable housing through apartments. We got to make affordable housing through ownership of homes, and we got to figure that strategy out. That we want more people to become homeowners. Because when you become a homeowner, your net worth, your what you're leaving back, your legacy is way more valuable than leaving a rental home that nobody can own ever. And you leaving old money, right? We call it old money. You build it by real estate. And I learned that through my mentors. That I had two Jewish mentors that taught me to say, you got to buy your property. So that's the first thing I did. Before I even moved out of my parents' house, I bought a home. And that's how come I became a homeowner. And I am now multiple homes, which pays values for me.
Oh, that's like a generational thing.
Correct.
Yeah, I feel like nowadays too. I know the home ownership thing is crazy because you keep hearing stories about how like big
investment,
like hedge funds and investment firms own like an enormous amount of the supply of residential homes, and it's kind of crazy how difficult really it's become, I think, for people to buy a first home.
To make that jump. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and I even think Oak Cliff, there's more and more apartments coming, but like Oak Cliff is just huge. I think that's something that we've been hearing from people, and we've been talking to people, is like, if you took it geographically on a map, flipped it up, it'd go all the way up into Plano. Like, it's like a big area. And so, I think as people are moving into Dallas like crazy, it just seems like more and more coming from New York and California and all of that. It's a lot coming in. We're going to be feeling these changes and seeing these things change more and more.
Yeah, you say California, but there's more people from California moving to Oklahoma now than in Texas.
That's crazy.
Because they figure out that they get more value in Oklahoma now, because Texas has gotten pretty expensive.
Yeah.
And we have the 5th highest tax rate in America, in Texas, in California.
Is that right?
Yeah, California's like 10th or 15th, but Texas is way up there because we tax you on everything.
Yeah,
right. We just don't have state income tax.
Yeah, that's like our big
No
poster. We're like, no state income tax. We're like, yeah, great.
But we tax you on everything.
Property
else.
taxes are super high.
And I tell that everybody. So home ownership is the key to make people with generational wealth and build all that stuff. The only problem that we have is how people get the deposit. Right, because a deposit for a $300,000 home is somewhere between $60,000 to $70,000 deposit if you don't want to pay the PMI. Yeah, and always discourage people not to have to pay the PMI. Right. Because that's not going to go away for at least 5 to 10, 15 years.
Right. Yeah. It's just an extra expense.
It's extra expense. So that's the biggest key about trying to figure out how we can motivate our people to save money, and that's a big ask. But if you buy a home for $300,000, it's about a $2,200 a month mortgage rate.
Yeah.
But apartments are also, right now, the cheapest apartment is $2,000 is the going rate in Dallas.
It's going to be right there.
It's going to be right there.
Yeah. Home ownership seems like it's always the best for the neighborhood, too, because people start to care more and more about what they want and what's around them. And I've been a renter before. I kind of let the yard go and whatever, like there's a mental shift that happens with businesses, with residents, with whatever. If you kind of don't have that ownership, I think that's good. That's a good word from your mentors.
Yeah, absolutely. Because what happens now, when people own property, they care about who their city council member is, what kind of difference are they making, what strategy are they going to refix our street. It goes in a long system that you figure out that now you care about what's going on, who the political people are, because they make a difference. Yeah. City council makes a big difference on how your streets are and how fast we can get them done. And during the 90s, we had gatekeepers, and they would sometimes not do things for the community because they weren't voting, and they didn't own their homes. So they were worried about the big person that owned all the homes was the one they were trying to please. So it probably still goes on today more than we know it, but we have a lot of big voices now in Oak Cliff and across the city that really speak up for and against whatever they don't like, and just try to put always tell everybody there's nothing wrong with sending an email to your council member, all the council members. If you want to change something, it might not happen, but at least you got your mind. You got to speak what you want.
They're more accessible than you think. I think that's like when you're like, oh, Dallas, it's a massive city, or like, but it's like, no, we're friends with Chad, or you're friends with your councilman, and get to know them. That's part of putting your roots down into that area.
Yes, and being on the park board, and I have the pleasure to have all 14 city council members on my phone now, the current ones, which is it's a great value because when I have something to talk or a message or something, what I think, my opinion, whether it's right or wrong, it's my opinion, and they listen, right? And hey, thank you for that, blah, and whatever's going on, and they send out stuff for us too. That maybe in Pleasant Grove they're trying to do a recap of trying to improve their street, which actually Jaime Resendez is trying to. He sends out information and we share it for him and just kind of get it out, because Dallas Youth Sports has a big reach, and we never tell you who to vote for, but we always tell you what's going on, so you kind of know, because
you're educated.
Dallas Youth Sports is not just sports, like I said earlier. We have a back to school event where we give out backpacks to kids. This year we did 1,700 backpacks. We're getting ready. We're getting for our Christmas event on December 14th. Last year we did 6,800 kids. This year our goal is to do 8,000, and that's where I was at. Like I was saying earlier, that's where I was at, picking up toys from Walmart. Gives us nice discounts to buy them from them.
Explain the Christmas event, because I know you talked about it during your Texas talk, but what exactly is that? It's like
So me and my wife have always picked a family for years, since we just pick a family and we go buy the kids a gift, buy mom a shirt, get them a basket of food, and take it. We were doing that for a long time, And then it got to 3 families, and then it became about 7 years ago, it was like 6 or 8 families. I don't remember how many we picked out. I know it was, we're doing all this, and we're like, well, you know what, we could probably do a lot more kids if we just not do
Open it up a little bit.
Open up a little bit. So we asked friends to give us money, give me some money.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna go buy these kids.
That's the most compelling fundraising pitch I've ever heard. Give me some money.
No, we're sitting there having some adult cocktails, and we're sitting and I'm telling them what we're gonna do. Oh man, I'll put some money in. I said, well, give it here. You're like, let's go. That's all your friends.
It's amazing how when you have a tangible thing like that, people are so ready to jump in. Not everybody, but like a lot of people are like, yeah, of course I want to give to
a
that.
good vision like that. And
Exactly.
It's clear. It's like, oh, there's a need. Great.
And so we invite them all to help us wrap stuff. So they all got,
Cool.
Not only did we get the money, we got their sweat equity out of it.
Good.
And
That's awesome.
I think we did like 500 kids which is now our 6th year, the first year, and it just kind of grew into something my daughter envisioned it, and she just started growing. Cool. And last year we opened up applications on November 1st, and we were completely filled by November 5th. We had to shut it down.
Wow.
I said, shut it down. She said, well, why? I said, because I don't know if I'm going to have enough funds to buy all this stuff.
Yeah.
Shut it down. Shut it down.
So like,
Ask more friends for more money.
Yeah, we did.
I know.
We did. We asked for more money, and we put away a war fund.
Okay.
So now during the year, we'll go leverage Walmart. And during August, they do a toy remodel in all the stores.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so we know they're going to reduce all their toys.
Great.
So we got all these partnerships, and we know some regional managers. Hey, I want to buy all your clearance toys. And they'll say, oh, really? I say, yeah. So the day I went, and I bought 493 units from $200 toys to $10 toys retail. And,
That's awesome.
And I got them all at an average of $5.97 each.
Dang.
Yeah.
That's just smart.
Yeah.
I mean, JR.
And no taxes, right? Because we're nonprofit, so it's just one of those things that we box them up, we put them in the back of my trailer, and I came and unload them. So it's just
Dude,
cool.
Oak Cliff's lucky to have JR.
I
His
agree.
mind on this.
I
stuff.
appreciate that.
Yeah.
I don't know if all Oak Cliff thinks that.
Oh, I don't know, man. Just hearing your mind and how you problem solve that is that's impressive.
And also we did that, but also we bought back to school items for next year, September 1st, Labor Day. That was the 3rd probably. That Tuesday I went to a store and they said, take all you want for 10 cents a piece, whatever you want. And I took a bunch of it. So I paid 10 cents for composition books, for pencils, just a bunch of stuff. And that helps us kind of get to more kids. And that's money that we leverage through our friends, through partnership sponsors, just everybody just ask.
Cool.
And that's always, we talk about Mardi Gras, and sometimes we don't, sometimes we haven't raised enough money.
Sure.
But it's just asking.
Yeah.
It's really asking.
Mm-hmm.
It's really where you're at. If my buddy, I have a buddy, best friend, he says, he calls me this friendly word. I won't say it here. And he says, quit being a pansy is the best way to put it. Besides the word he actually calls me. And go ask him. And he says, because if you ask him, it's 50% chance they're going to say yes.
Right.
If you don't ask him, it's always a no. And so that's what I just started doing. I just started going in. I ask them, and
don't know what you don't ask for, kind of thing.
And I tell them, here's our thing, and what can you do for us?
Yeah.
And people really start giving out, especially Walmart, as big as it is. They are willing to give you just about all kind of stuff. Their employees are really good people.
That's cool.
Their managers.
That's awesome.
And I'm not trying to make a spiel for Walmart, but just the people is really, really that's driving them. They really want to give back. Not only give out discount toys, they'll give us grants. They'll they'll come out and volunteer and at the parks, even at the parks cleaning up. So
that's cool.
And that's just, and I say that I talk about Walmart because there's a lot of people like that. There's Origin Bank with CODIS and people like that help us out. Methodist,
of course.
But I say Walmart all the time because Walmart's a big corporation.
They're huge.
And you don't expect them to want to do that kind of stuff.
No, you don't really think of them as like a big Oak Cliff neighborhood champion, but the fact that they're doing that kind of work with you is really cool, actually.
The number one Walmart, and I think the number one in the region, or maybe in Texas, I'll ask the manager again. We saw it over at Crocker Hill and 30.
Really?
They run a little bit close to $2 million a week. And that is tremendous, and they have a lot of leverage on how much they can discount you.
Wow.
And that's the kind of knowledge that I try to tell all the people. Hey, go ask that Walmart. Because they have a lot of pull in what they can do. And
that's cool.
And they have a big credit. I call it a credit account where they can credit things out and give them to you. They can't give them to you free, but they can really mark them as low as they can. So it's just something that you got to know the leverage and learn.
Amazing.
I was with Nabisco for a long time, and that's where I learned those kind of things with Walmart, and that's why they've always been go ask.
Huh.
So,
wow.
Yeah. So,
That's amazing.
it's definitely. I appreciate it, all that, but it's definitely something to do. When the Christmas event is something, I'll invite you guys. December 14th. Put it on your calendar.
All right, let's go, Doug. I'm
Let's do it.
there.
I'm down. I'm down. Man, that's awesome. Well, JR, we really appreciate it. Is there any other questions that come to mind before we close this thing out?
I mean, JR, you're so involved and do so many things for Oak Cliff. All I can say is thanks.
Yeah.
Keep it up,
yeah.
man. It's awesome to know you, and thanks for all the cool things
Fun
you
to be
do.
in the neighborhood working together on stuff, man.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
man, it's great to know you guys. You're some of my favorite brothers.
Ah.
Twins. I call y'all the twins all the time. So you guys
Hey,
get
I'll
used to
take
that.
it.
Hey,
I'm
we're-
5 years old.
Yeah, I was gonna say 5 years
This
difference,
guy-
but
yeah.
we look similar
As
now.
long as when you see me at the state fair, you say hello to me. That's all that matters.
All right. I'll never live it down, will I? I never will.
That's awesome. Appreciate you, JR.
JR, good to see you, man.
Thanks.
Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for tuning in to this episode of The Hidden City. We hope you discovered something about Oak Cliff that you didn't know. If you enjoyed the show, I hope you subscribe to it on YouTube and then follow us on any of the podcasting platforms. Also, if you enjoyed it, please share with a friend. And thanks so much for tuning in.